Today we're going to start with stuffed portobello mushrooms. This is my newest recipe on my website, so I'm not making a great old recipe, I'm making a new one. I love this recipe so much, I was so excited about it, so I wanted to make it for you today. And it sounds kind of fancy, stuffed portobello mushrooms, but it's fairly easy to put together, stick in the oven, and get going pretty quickly. So we're going to do that first, and if you're new to my videos, all of my recipes are made with 100% plant foods, as well as no added salt, oil, or sugar, or gluten. And I really try to keep things whole foods. So you'll see a lot of whole foods chopped up here. I don't use a lot of packaged things. I try my best to stay away from packaged and processed foods and just keep it really health promoting with the whole foods. Every once in a while I'll use some mustard or some balsamic vinegar or something like that that I buy at the store, but usually it's just a lot of produce. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn my stovetop on here so it can get heating up. And whenever I heat up my stovetop and it has a pan on it, I just put a little bit of water in it, so that will let me know when it's boiling and nice and hot and ready to go. All right. Okay. So while that's getting ready, I'm going to get my portobello mushrooms ready. And this makes 2 large portobello stuffed mushrooms. If you are 4 people or you want more, just double or triple the recipe. So when you're buying your portobello mushrooms, you want to make sure you get nice, heavy portobellos. And the reason we want the heavy, tight ones is because that means that they are fresher. There's more water in there. And I'm going to set this down and come back to it in a sec here, because I see that my water is boiling here. And I'm going to add my first round of ingredients. We're just going to saute these, which means cooking while stirring on pretty high heat. So I've got 1 cup of yellow onion here. You can use a white onion, a yellow onion, it doesn't really matter. 1/2 cup of bell pepper. I like to use yellow or orange for this because I'm using tomatoes later, and so I already have red. And then 1/2 cup of zucchini. And I don't peel my zucchini, I just leave those peelings on. And then I've got some of the mushroom here that I'll talk about in a sec. We're going to add that in as well. Okay. Now if you see that it's cooking a little too fast, it's starting to brown on the bottom already, just add a little water. Or turn the heat down a little bit. And I hope you can see these veggies in focus, or pretty good focus. And we're going to just saute these until the onions start to soften and turn a little bit translucent. You don't really need to do it so far as when they brown, but you can start to brown them a little bit if you like. Ooh, I'm flicking food out of my pan here. This is a non-stick ceramic coated pan. The brand is Ozeri, O-Z-E-R-I, and this is in my website store if you want to check it out. Okay, so while that's finishing up, and we don't need to add a lot of water. We don't want to boil this or really steam it. We just don't want it to stick. And we want the water that is inside the vegetables to come out, because as vegetables cook, that water comes out. And that concentrates the flavor. All right, so back to the mushroom while that's finishing up. So you want a nice heavy mushroom that looks nice. These are called the gills inside, so you want them to not be wet and slimy. So go ahead and just pop this stem off. Don't cut it off, pop it off with your hand and discard it or save it for your vegetable stock if you like. And then once you get that off, we want to scrape out the gills to make more room for the filling. Now these gills are edible, but I usually just throw them out. I suppose you could save them and put them in your vegetable stock if you make vegetable stock at home yourself, but I just toss them out. I usually don't use vegetable stock, I just use water. If I buy vegetable stock, it usually has a lot of salt in it, and I'm not crazy about the flavor of store-bought vegetable stock. So I just use water, and I find that by the end of cooking, there's lots of great flavors, so I don't really need to buy the stock. Yeah. All right, it's browning up a little bit. Let's add a little bit of water. Now, so that's pretty much cleaned out. There's a little of the gills left in there. I don't know if you can see that. But now what I'm going to do is turn the mushroom over, and I'm just going to cut about a 1/4 inch piece from the bottom, a little piece like this, and I'm going to just dice it up, and I'm going to throw it in with my vegetables. Now this serves two purposes. This allows the mushroom, when it's all done and you're eating it on your plate, to sit nice and flat instead of rolling around. And it also adds some flavor to our filling. Forgot this one. All right. Now, if you're a person who doesn't like mushrooms, I haven't tried it, but I'm thinking you could do this same recipe, the same filling without the mushrooms, but you could put it inside of a tomato or a bell pepper or maybe a winter squash, like a what are they called? Those delicata squash, yeah. So maybe don't abandon this recipe just because you don't like mushrooms. Try it with one of those other things. Okay, so I always have this cup of water. This is just a 1 cup measuring cup, and I use it all the time, just to have the water at the ready. Okay, so that looks good. We're going to add our next couple things. This is just some dried Italian seasoning and 1 teaspoon of chopped garlic. And usually when I add dry stuff, again, I add a little water just so I can stir it in there. It's not just sitting in a lump. Okay. That smells good. Okay. The next things we're going to add are the things that don't take as much cooking. We just want to warm these up. So 2 teaspoons balsamic vinegar, 1 to 2 tablespoons chopped fresh basil, 1 cup fresh spinach chopped, and a 1/2 cup tomatoes and cannellini beans that have been drained and rinsed. I always drain and rinse my beans. I suppose if you were putting them into a soup or something like that, you wouldn't have to. Okay. Ooh, that looks so good. Now, I put the dried Italian seasoning in here. If you want to put a different seasoning blend in, go right on ahead. If you like things kind of hot and spicy, you could add some red pepper flakes. So have fun with it. All right, let me see if I am missing anything. I don't think so. All right. Let me just check this since it's the first time I'm doing this, to see if it's in good focus for you. I think that's as good as it's gonna get. All right. Ooh, that looks good. You could serve this over baked potatoes. It would be really good in a warm corn tortilla, even without the big mushroom. This is just a good filling. All right, I'm going to turn this off. And I'm going to get my baking sheet here that my cookbook is sitting on, by the way. This is my cookbook, Straight Up Food. And this recipe isn't in there because it's brand new, but the other two recipes that I'm doing today are in here. And if you don't have this book, I know you guys already have this book. It lies nice and flat. It's got lots of pictures. It's just a really good book, especially if you are new to this way of eating. This is a great foundation book to get you going and help you understand why I cook this way and why I eat this way. Alrighty. So I'd already prepared my other portobello mushroom. So I've got both of them here, and now we're just going to fill them up. Now these are going to cook for about 22 to 24 minutes, which doesn't seem like enough time for the mushrooms to get really cooked, but it is. It's amazing how fast it is. I love that it doesn't have to stay in the oven for 45, 50 minutes. So I fill these up. You can kind of mound them on the top a little if you want. Just press them in there. Okay. Now I'll do this one. And I did create the recipe. Well, we'll see how it goes. But I might have a little filling left over. But I didn't want to have not enough. So I went a little on the more quantity side. And if you have leftovers, you can just save it. Or you can get a third mushroom just in case. Especially if your mushrooms are small, then you could probably get away with 3 or 4 filled mushrooms. Okay. All right. Ooh, that looks good. And just try to get stuff in every little nook and cranny there. Ooh. All right. So you can see I have a little bit left over. So I'm just going to move this out of the way since I'm done with it. And I'll move this into view here. Okay, so here are the mushrooms. They look great. I'm just going to pop them in the oven. I have them on a baking sheet that has a silicone mat on it, or you can use disposable parchment paper if you like. Actually, you probably wouldn't have to have anything because this isn't going to stick really, I don't think. To be safe, we'll go with the silicone mat here. All right. Oops. All right, I put it in for 22 minutes. I'll check it then and see if it needs a little more time. But what we're looking for is a little browning on the top of the filling. So we'll see how that goes. All right, let me just check the comments. And maybe before I do that, I will get my next recipe stuff sitting here for you. So you can have something pretty to look at. Okay. Whew. Okay. Will the video be on Facebook? Hi, Patty, so I can view it later. Yes, All my live videos are on Facebook in the videos section, and they're also on my YouTube channel. So this one will be up today or tomorrow on YouTube. Can you prep them ahead and bake them later? Pam asked, can you prep the mushrooms early? I think so. I think you could put them all together, put them, you know, with the filling inside the mushroom, put them in a Tupperware, and then just when you're ready to bake them, pop them in the oven. Yeah, I think that would work great. How do you keep them from getting watery? The mushrooms, well, after they're done baking, and you'll see, they are a little bit squishy and watery, but they're so good. They're so delicious. So they're really going to soften up and shrink down a tiny bit. Okay. Stuffed portobello mushrooms. Yep. Hi, Anne. Thanks for all the comments. Yeah, I'm hoping the audio sounds better today. We've been working hard on it here. Watching from Connecticut. Hi, Kelly. Okay. Hi, Mike. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Charlene. Oh, there's my sissy. Hi, Deb. Really nice camera work. Thank you. I'm trying my best here. Okay. Larry, can see you. Looking forward to this. Hi, Larry in Raleigh. University Place, Washington. Hi, Susie. Hi from New Jersey, Connie. Great sound. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see my mic here. It's plugged in, it's turned on, it's turned up, and it's placed correctly. So, okay. All right. Okay. So thank you for your comments. And we are going to move on now to the 4-bean salad. This recipe is on my website. I got a comment on Facebook, on Amazon today. Someone gave me a lower rating because they said all the recipes in the book are on the website, which really bums me out because it's not true. There are a lot of recipes from the website in the book, and that was the idea, to take all of our, or as many recipes as possible that are favorites of people and put them into book form so we don't have to go to the computer every time we want a recipe. So there's a lot of them from the website in the book, but there's also a nice big handful of new recipes that aren't on the website, including the ranch dressing that we're going to make a little bit later. And in the book, there's a lot of other information that's supportive information and how to think about breakfast when you eat this way. So it's not all just recipes, it's also a lot of helpful stuff. And this is why I say it's really good for people that are new to this way of eating, because it gives you a lot of support, gives you a lot of options. I'm going to make a dressing later that has nuts, but I know not everybody likes to eat nuts. So that was a weird noise. So I give you options if you don't do nuts or seeds. So the book just gives you a really well-rounded picture of this way of eating, as well as the recipes. So anyway, if you like the book, please leave a review on Amazon for me. If you're enjoying it, that really helps me out. Even 3 years later, people really shot by those Amazon reviews. So it's really great. Every morning I check it and see how it's doing. So, okay. So we're going to do the 4-bean salad next. And a lot of people have had bean salads before. They're very popular at what I call the 3 Ps: picnics, potlucks, and parties. It's just a great dish to bring when you're going to a gathering. And the issue with traditional bean salads is the dressing. And it's usually loaded with oil and it's loaded with white sugar. If you Google 4-bean salad dressing, you'll see that like a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup of sugar is added to this dressing. And I don't know why it has to be that sweet. So What I'm doing is keeping all the ingredients in traditional 4-bean salad that are health promoting, and I'm getting rid of the ingredients that aren't health promoting, and I'm substituting with other things. So let's go ahead and put the chunky part of the salad together, the salad part, and then after that we will do the dressing. Excuse me, that was probably really loud. Okay. So for the salad, we're going to put in the 4 beans. These are green beans, 3 cups of cooked green beans. You can use canned, you can use frozen, but I like to use fresh. They just taste better. I cut them into little segments like this. So that's 3 cups cooked green beans. Then we're going to put in our other types of beans. We have here kidney beans, garbanzo beans, and black beans. These have all been drained and rinsed. And the beans that I've used today are Westbury Natural canned beans, no salt added, if you can find these. And then for the garbanzo beans, I just use this no salt added Whole Foods brand of beans. So either one will work, or you can make your beans from scratch if you want to do that. It is up to you. If you can only find beans that are low sodium, you can always soak them in some water, drain and rinse them, soak them in some water, and that will kind of leach out a lot of that salt. Okay. All right. So next we're going to add in things that are very traditional for bean salads. Some peas, 1.5 cups peas and corn. Both of these were just organic frozen. And this is a 1/2 cup of red onion, chopped, pretty small. This corn is cooked or blanched, and so are the peas, so we don't need to cook them. If you live somewhere where you can get fresh organic corn on the cob, you can use that. You can just chop it right off, the kernels right off the cob, and you can just eat them raw. They're wonderful. Okay, I think that's all the chunky stuff. Yep. Okay, so here's all chunky stuff. We're just going to set this aside for a minute, and we're going to make the salad dressing. Okay. So I'm using my little Try Best personal blender today, and we're okay. And I'm going to use this little short cup here and this blade, and I'm going to add my ingredients. So this is the vinaigrette that I'm going to dress this salad with. As I said, traditionally this is loaded with oil, which is not good for our health, and salt and sugar. So we're going to leave all those things out, and we're going to make a vinaigrette, which also works really well as an everyday dressing, not even on this salad. So if you just want a good everyday vinaigrette type dressing, this is a good one. So instead of oil, which is nothing like oil, I'm using tomatoes, but it works. So this is about 3/4 cup chopped tomatoes. These are cherry tomatoes. You don't have to use cherry tomatoes, but that's what I'm using. We're going to put in about 1/3 to 1/2 cup of vinegar, because this dressing is also very tangy. Now if you make this at home and it's a little too tangy for you, just add less vinegar if you like. I'm using the apple cider vinegar Bragg's today because it's less processed. All right, and our next ingredient is 2 tablespoons of mustard. And this is the mustard that I use when I'm going no salt added. It's called Westbury Natural Stone Ground Mustard, no salt added. This is a little tricky to find in the stores, so I just order it online. And then I get like a bunch at one time because I love mustard. So this is what I'm going to use today. I'm going to do 2 tablespoons. These are my favorite measuring spoons as well because they stick together with a magnet in the middle, and they have two ends. So if I dirty one end, I still have a clean end. All right. And then, as you've seen me do in the past, I always dip my measuring spoon in some water first before I measure out the mustard, so the mustard slides off. Whoop, a little easier. Okay. And next we're going to put in 1 teaspoon of ground cumin and 1 clove of fresh garlic. We're just going to screw that blade on. This is called the TriBest Personal Blender. I love this blender. I have a large blender of Vitamix, but I also use this one when I just want to make some salad dressing or grind up some flax seeds or just do a little bit of something without getting the big blender jar out. So we're just going to blend this until smooth, and I was going to remind myself to turn off my mic while I do this so I don't blast your ear. Okay. This traditionally is a pre-dressed salad, so I'm just going to go ahead and pour the dressing right on there. Oh, and as I was saying, this is called TriBest Personal Blender. It's on my website store if you're interested. These are plastic cups. They don't have BPA in them. They also have ones with glass if you prefer glass, but this is a great small blender. If you don't have one and you're looking for one, TRIBEST. If you already have another brand of small blender, just keep using that. But if it ever breaks, get this one. It's a really good quality blender. Ooh, that looks good. Now at this point while I'm stirring, I usually think of things I could add to this if you wanted, because I know you guys like to do variations, and so do I. So you could add some freshly ground black pepper to this. You could add some chopped basil, chopped parsley, cilantro. If you had a bunch of celery or carrots, you could add some of that in there. Also, if you happen to say only have black beans and navy beans, you could use that. You don't have to use the 3 types of canned beans that I did. But this, what I was going here for, was the traditional look and the traditional ingredients as much as possible. Okay. Oh, that looks so good. All right. So there it is, all plated for you. You could put a little garnish on top with the pepper or the fresh herbs if you want, or you could just serve it like that. Doesn't that look good? I'm so excited I get to eat this for lunch. When I'm at home, I eat very simply. I'm not usually putting recipes together, but Tuesdays are fun because I get to eat what I make. All right, so let me just check the comments real quick to see if you guys had any questions about this. Can you grind nuts or flax seeds with TriBest? I want one, but wonder, oh yeah, that's my favorite reason for having a TriBest, to grind flax seeds. Some people are, and I did this too in the beginning, I used a little coffee grinder, but this is so much better. It's powerful. Yes, do this. It's great for grinding. It's not quite as good as the huge Vitamix that has a much bigger motor, but it's very amazing. So yeah. Oh, what is the name of this recipe? This is 4-bean salad. It's on the straightupfood.com website. All right. Is the mushroom recipe in your cookbook? No, the stuffed portobello mushrooms that I just put in the oven, those are brand new. I just came up with that last week, so it's not in the cookbook. But it's on the website. Okay. I bought one and love it. Yeah, it's a really great product. Can you link the blender? So my friend who's moderating for me did link it there. Okay, and there's the measuring spoons. Those measuring spoons are on my website store, but you can get these anywhere they sell kitchen stuff. They're very common, they're very popular. And I forget the brand, but they have like a little O right there or something. I'm not sure what brand that is. But go to my website, they're there. These are great. If you want to get a gift for someone that cooks a lot, these are a great gift. And they're inexpensive. Okay. Yeah, I used apple cider vinegar in this, but you can use, organic brown rice vinegar, or a flavored vinegar. It's up to you. Let's see. I cooked the green beans for I boiled the water and then I put the green beans in. It takes like 5 minutes or so. So just check once you get toward the end. You don't want them too rubbery. You don't want them underdone. Canned tomatoes. Can you use canned tomatoes? I've never done that, but I think you probably could. I've never seen, like diced tomatoes. I see. I don't know. Probably work. Kelly's listing all her favorite recipes. Thank you, Kelly. Okay. Thanks, Patricia. Patricia is saying how the book is a work of art. I should do a video sometime on the book and the creating of the book. The book is self-published by me, and it was a labor of love, I'm telling you. It took a while, it took a lot of learning, and it turned out really well. I'm so pleased with it. Any advice if one is feeling overwhelmed by choices, as in trying to plan meals? And mine might sound ridiculously simple. I just find that I freeze up when I try to do it. Yeah, I remember feeling that when I was just starting out eating this way. Like, well, what do I make? So it's like learning a new language. You just got to hang in there and learn bit by bit, and then you'll get better and it'll be a lot easier. There is a link on my website called My Meals that you can check out if you want to see visual pictures of my meals. But the last few years I've been adding most of those My Meals pictures to my Facebook page, which is public. So anybody can go there and look at the pictures of my meals, and you can get an idea of how I eat. And I tell people, you don't need a huge repertoire of recipes and ideas, just 5 to 10. And then just make them over with slight variations. So you can have baked potatoes, and I always make sweet potatoes while I make baked white potatoes too, just for variety. And you could have so you could have baked potatoes on Monday, but every Monday you could change up what's in the middle of them. You could have Taco Tuesday and kind of change up what's in the middle, beans and rice. Another time you could do quinoa and chopped, cooked yams. Or there's so many ways to change up things. You could have soup Saturday. So if you kind of need some guidelines like that, that might help you out. And there is a section in the book about meal planning, so you can check that out as well. Okay. Oh yeah, you saw that in the book. Okay. Cooking demos are a lot of work, and we really appreciate you having them. These cooking demos are so much work. Yeah, today I was telling my friend who's helping me moderate, like, it would be so great to have someone just set all the stuff up in the background that you can't see and on the computer. But I'm learning, I'm getting better. The more I do it, the better I will get. Okay, oh, my mushrooms are done. How do you eat these mushrooms? You can just use a fork because it's that tender, or you can use a knife and fork. Okay. All right, I think I got through all the recent comments there. 375, the oven was on. Can you use frozen green beans? You can. I used frozen peas and corn. I find that frozen green beans are a little rubbery, but yeah, you can use them if you like. Okay. All right, so let me grab the mushrooms out of the oven, or check on them. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Alrighty, so here they are out of the oven. I hope you can see that clearly enough. So that was 22 minutes at 375. Can you guys see that? Let me check on my other screen. It's a little blurry, isn't it? Let me see if I can get it a little more in focus. I don't know if I can, but anyway, I don't know if you can tell, but they're a little browned on the top, a little crusty, and that's what we want. Those are beautiful. If you want to garnish them because you're trying to be extra cute, you can put a little basil on the top just to kind of make them pop. Isn't that pretty? And then since someone asked how do you eat them, I'll go ahead and do what they do on TV and cut one for you. So they're pretty tender. And you might think, oh, portobello mushrooms are so big that it's going to be too much mushroom. If you like mushrooms, it is not too much mushroom. It is amazing. So it's a little messy, but it's fun messy. So there you go. Steamy. I'm not going to put that in my mouth because that looks really hot at the moment. So I'm just going to leave that there. Okay. And remember, this only makes two-ish, 2 to 3-ish. So feel free to double the recipe. I get more comments from people like, oh, your recipes make too much because they're just one person or 2 people. So I thought this time I would just do 2. But anyway. So let's move on to our last recipe. Maybe I can just kind of keep these in the corner here. Okay. While we make the other recipe. Let me turn my oven off because it's hot in here. And there was a little bit of water on the pan, but no biggie. And you can see when I cut that, it wasn't, well, there's a little bit of water there. Okay, so we're going to move on to the ranch dressing. And I'm going to use my Try Best again. kind of see that? Okay. So here's my tall cup with my blender before I used the shorter cup. So this is about a 2-cup cup, and they even have taller ones now if you want that. So I've already started the dressing with a 1/2 cup cashews and a 1/2 cup water. And if you know my recipes, you know I like to use cashews quite a bit just because they're so versatile. They're light in color. They have a nice flavor. But if you don't want to do cashews, you can use another kind of nut or seed, or you can use tofu. So normally in ranch dressing, it's made with a lot of mayonnaise, sour cream, and salt. So we're leaving all those things out, but we still need to replace that fat of the mayonnaise and the sour cream if we want it to taste more like what we're used to eating. So I'm using cashews for that. So if you want to use another type of fat, you could use hemp seeds or another kind of white nut or seed, sunflower seeds, and you would want to be sure to soak them first. I don't know if almonds would work. You'd want to take the skins off after soaking, I think. But if you soaked them long enough, they'd probably work. So anyway, I'm using cashews today. If you want to go a really low calorie route, you can just use white beans, cannellini beans, navy beans, great northern beans, drained and rinsed. And instead of doing a 1/2 cup like I did with the cashews, do like 3/4 to 1 cup. Okay, so let's add to this. And let me get them melt. So this is a 1/2 cup water, 1/2 cup cashews. And then we're going to add 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of vinegar just for a little bit of zing. And we're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of granulated garlic and granulated onion. Now the reason that I do granulated instead of fresh is because I find that fresh is too zingy. It's just too much. If you want to use fresh, you can, but I grew up on the Hidden Valley Ranch packet. I don't know if you guys did, but that's all dried stuff. And I think a lot of people grow up on that as well. So I was trying to mimic that as much as possible. So when you use the dried onion and the dried garlic, it's just I don't know, it's a different flavor than fresh. It's more on the down low, the more mellow flavors, I guess. Okay, so we're going to blend this before we add in our last 2 ingredients, which is 2 tablespoons of dill, which is very traditional for ranch dressing, and green onions. Okay. Now the reason I'm separating out the blending is because if I were to put those in here, it would just turn into a homogeneous green dressing. And that's not really what I'm going for. I want to see those little flecks at the end, like ranch dressing has. It has those little flecks. All right, so I'm going to blend this, and I'm going to turn my mic off again. See how good I am at remembering this? I'm getting it. Alrighty. I added just a little bit of water there at the end because it was a little bit thick. And let's see. doing on time? Doing good. All right. So there it is. It's a little light green, but you can see the little specks in there. And that's what we want. Now, what do I do with this ranch dressing? I use it on salads, obviously. I will dip French fries in it. I'll use it as a substitute for butter and sour cream on my baked potatoes. I have a falafel recipe. This would be good with the falafel recipe as well as hummus and tzatziki sauce. But yeah, it's just great to have like 2 to 3 or 1 to 3 sauces or dressings made up in your refrigerator for the week, and then you don't have to make them each time. It's just ready to go. It's in the fridge. And what I like to do is make one type like this, and I'll eat that for a few days or throughout the week, and then next time I'll make a different dressing. And I don't have I have a lot of dressing recipes, but personally I just use, 2 or 3, and I just rotate through them. And also I'm just remembering regarding the cashews and the white beans, it doesn't have to be all one or all the other. If you want to use mostly white beans and just 2 cashews, you could do that as well. So you'll just get a little bit of that fat taste, which is so yummy. I also, and again, this dressing that I made for the bean salad doesn't have any added fat like this one. So if you're looking for a low-fat dressing, this is a good one.